House Speaker Mike Johnson facing a crucial election today with the first round of voting that is set to begin around 1 p.m. Eastern as he scrambles to shore up last-minute support from his Republican colleagues.
Alexandria Hoff in Washington with more. Big day, Alex.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, good morning to you. Speaker Johnson has said that he has spoken with every Republican who is not yet committed to supporting him today, and he is hopeful that he will be reelected in the first round of voting.
People are talking through process changes they want and those kinds of things, and I'm open to that, and I think tomorrow's going to go well.
Now, Johnson can only lose one vote before the election is extended. Lawmakers as a whole do not want a repeat of 2 years ago when it took 15 rounds to elect Speaker McCarthy. Failing to re-elect Johnson quickly would paralyze the House, rendering it unable to certify the election results on the 6th. Now, there is no question that President-elect Trump won, but now the question is how far his influence and his endorsement of Johnson will go for the handful of hardline Republicans who feel Johnson was weakened in the budget battle last month.
What we want to see happen as we begin the 119th Congress is not what happened in the last 2 years of the 118th. He's got to make the case, and hopefully Mike will.
I will make a decision tomorrow, but we had a good meeting with the Speaker, discussed some things. I think in a lot of things we agree.
I'm absolutely positively voting for Speaker Mike Johnson. He's done a good job under the circumstances.
I'm voting for Mike Johnson. I agree with Ronnie Jackson. Look, I think this thing's going to be wrapped up pretty quickly.
Now, the Republicans on Speaker Johnson's side don't want him making any deals or concessions with detractors because that did not work out very well for McCarthy. Ashley, Todd.
Alexandria Hoff, thank you. Let's bring in Montana Congressman Ryan Zinke, and let's pick up, Congressman, where Alex left off. There are likely some last-minute deals, some horse trading that some of the potential holdouts are trying to negotiate with Mike Johnson to get some concessions. What last-minute concessions are you hearing, your ear to the ground there with your fellow colleagues, that they're trying to get from Johnson to secure their vote?
Well, mostly fiscal discipline. I think the big argument was we went through and it had a 1,500-page bill. Of course, you looked at it and a lot of giveaways in that. So he took some harsh criticism. You know, this is not my first rodeo. I've watched, the Speaker battle from Boehner. We had bigger numbers, of course. But, everyone voted in unison and that unanimous prior to getting on the floor. And then on the floor, all of a sudden, different votes came up. Same thing happened with McCarthy, 15 rounds. But I suspect with Mike, what's different is Donald J. Trump. Most of the Congress, at least on the Republican side, was endorsed by Trump, and they believe in the Trump agenda. So not having a speaker in place only loses time, and it actually works against the Trump agenda. So, you look at back and forth and negotiating. At the end of the day, what you're negotiating against, really, if you don't vote for Johnson, is the Trump agenda, which most Republicans were elected to make sure that agenda, promise made, should be a promise kept.
You're viewing this through a positive lens, promoting the Trump agenda, and I totally agree that should be top of mind, but there's also the realities of politics. Do you think at the end of the day, Mike Johnson caves to these members that are currently potential holdouts, or do those members that are potential holdouts cave because Donald Trump's done a little bit of arm twisting, and I'm sure mentioning some potential primarying of those members was brought up a time or two?
Well, it's interesting on caving. On fiscal discipline, I don't think it's a cave. I think it's a necessity. We should go back to the Constitution about how it's formed and how we fund on the House side. Funding bills are supposed to start in the House. We're supposed to do regular appropriations. We're supposed to follow Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. And we have not. There's 36 trillion reasons why that we need to get back to fiscal discipline. So I understand the point. But again, what is the outcome? The outcome is the only way you can achieve that is to have a Speaker of the House. The only way we can achieve going forward is have a Speaker that works with the President. While we're a second branch, there's no doubt that President Trump is enormously influential in what happens in Congress, and I'm an optimist. I think at the end of the day, we will elect a Speaker. That Speaker will be Mike Johnson, and we'll get on with the business of doing what we're supposed to be doing in Congress, was getting things done.
We will see if the end of the day means actually the end of the day today, Friday. We will see. Meantime, I want to get your thoughts on this. House Republicans want the Senate to confirm Trump's national security team as soon as possible after, of course, the New Year's Day attack. Incoming Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who's going to lead the confirmations, writes, the threat posed by ISIS will outlast this administration, and this is a clear example of why the Senate must get President Trump's national security team in place as quickly as possible. Congressman, do you expect the New Orleans attack to force Democrats to reconsider their potential opposition to Trump's national security nominees in order to get them in place as soon as possible and protect our nation?
Well, I think the Department of Defense is probably job one. And look, Pete Hegseth, I've heard criticism he's young. Well, McNamara was young. Donald Rumsfeld was young. He didn't have any experience. Well, you know, Perry did not have military experience. Les Aspin did not have military experience. Obama had an accountant as Department of Defense. So what I like about Pete Hegseth is, you know what? The deck plates like him. The soldiers in the field, because he's one of them. And look, we fight with our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. We fight with people. And with Pete Hegseth, you know, he's one of them and well-liked, as he should be. So I'm thinking that we'll get through at least 4 or 5 on day one, as we should. Remember, you know, you look at the team that Biden has. I mean, there's no comparison with the quality of candidates, the quality of the nominees, the quality of the people, the experience. There's no comparison. So once again, politics, let's just get on to their business of serving the American people.
Yeah, without a doubt, Pete is a player's coach. And to those who say he doesn't have experience, I mean, he's not making up those pictures that are online. He's not making up the conversations that I've had with him ad nauseum over the course of the last 7 years. He has significant experience. And so I think it would behoove our America to get him and all the other nominees put through as quickly as possible. Congressman Ryan Zinke, I hope for your sake you don't have a very long night. Hopefully it gets done soon and we have a speaker and we can move on with the business of governing America. Appreciate your time this morning.
Less drama, more action. Come on, guys. And, you know, Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year to you, my friend.